to Transformation Tuesday. I am your host, Christy Effelman. I am the CEO and founder of Edge Leadership, and we build peer mentoring circles inside of organizations, whether that's for your EBRG or high potential program or internship or department or area. And today we are joined by Darah Kirstein. So say hello to Darah.
Hello.
If you have been following along in our little corner of the internet, you know that I started these monthly lives back in 2022 when I released my book, The Peer Revolution. And this year we are celebrating 10 years in business. And in 10 years, 10,000 amazing leaders have gone through our group coaching programs, and Darah is one of them. So the purpose of the live is quite simple. It is to provide a platform for people to share their journeys and their stories of transformation. Because if one person can, it reminds us that we all can. So I'm glad that you are joining us here this month, whether you have joined in the past or this is your very first Transformation Tuesday, to be inspired by people who have challenged the status quo in their lives, both personally or professionally. And with that, I'm going to allow Darah to introduce herself to all of you. And as she does, please drop a note in the comments and say hi to her.
Hello, everybody. Gosh, there's a first time for everything, huh? I don't think I've ever been on Facebook Live before or Instagram. I've never done this. This is so exciting and very vulnerable. And I'm on a screen watching myself, and I have no idea who is watching me or us, rather.
Right?
See,
Talk about challenging the status quo, right? Like, okay.
I'm so excited to be here to inspire others. I am excited to be here to inspire others. Thank you for having me. I feel so honored and privileged to even be sharing a screen with you. I think that through my story and through my experiences with Christy, I very much refer to her as a magician all the time. Because what I have firsthand seen the inspiration and spaces that she provides for everybody, men and women, to kind of find their own value. Yeah, so I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I love it. And is there anything about you that, before we get into our questions, that you want to share with us about who you are and what's important to you?
Oh gosh, who am I? That's a great question. That's something we worked on, wasn't it?
It was. It was, but it has evolved. It's been a couple years since you went through everything, love.
Yeah. I am somebody who I think has, after my coaching experience in Edge, started paying attention to myself and not everybody else. Just in raising a family and having a fulfilling career and doing what makes me happy and not everybody else is a huge step that I've taken. So it's not easy. It's not easy at all because we all go into, especially careers, with plans and, our 2-year plan and our 5-year plan and our 10-year plan. And then all of a sudden the universe is like, no.
Yes.
And I think being open to that is having your eyes wide shut almost. We go through a lot of our lives with our eyes wide shut instead of eyes wide open. And being in this kind of awakened state is really powerful. It's scary though too.
It is, because we can see it all, the good and the scary, when our eyes are open. And I love that concept of the awakened state, because when I think of you, and I didn't really know you before you came through Edge, not nearly, of course, to the degree that I do now. And when I think of you, I absolutely do think of awakened. And I do think of the other word that came up for me when you said eyes wide open. Like, you, to me, are a very open person. Open to possibilities, open to innovation, open to vulnerability, open to a lot.
Yeah. Thanks.
Welcome. You're welcome. So let's jump right in, my friend. Tell us your story in your words. So go back to pre-transformation Darah.
Yeah.
What was life like for you personally or professionally? What shifted and how?
Yeah. Um, I know that early on in my career, I was super ambitious and, came right out of college, started working for a corporation that I am still with, that I still love very much. And that company has treated me so well. I think in the middle beginning of my career, when I started having my family and my children, is when the challenges started arising for me, right? And I wanted to forge ahead full force in both of those lanes, and just constantly struggled with the messy middle. That's what you call it. That's what you
Yeah.
call it. That messy middle of, I want to raise my children, but like I also want to do my job that fulfills me so much. Not that being a mom doesn't fulfill me,
It's
but
a different type of fulfillment.
it's a totally different type of
It's not good or bad or one or
yeah,
you're right, like, but there's value in both and
yeah,
not
yeah,
either or.
yes. And so I just constantly felt this push and this pull. I was always trying to find that harmony between, like I said, raising my children, but having that fulfilling career. And I think that towards still very much the beginning of my career at the age of 31, I peaked, right? Some of the work that I was doing at my corporate job, I was getting a lot of media attention. And from there, like I was like, oh, well, I am going to be good to go.
I got this.
And
I
I
can
got
know
this. This is going to take me places. But I quickly learned that I still had to put my head down and work really, really hard. And I think that I then, through my coaching experience, not to like pull forward, but I think that I was just kind of like putting my head down and working really hard, but still not getting to where I thought that I should be. Um, Notice my words there, where I should be or where I could be.
I love it. Good catch right there.
That I started really like taking my career like personally, like not getting to where I wanted to be or where I thought I should be, and all at the same time. I was working part time, then I went back to full time, then I was part time after my second, I went full time, then after my third, I was part time. Like I was part time to full time, and
Yeah.
I was doing it right. Like I was living that balance. I was doing it, but like I always wanted more in my career, and I found that pre-transformation, well, no, this is definitely post-transformation. I found out about myself that I started like measuring my value, and this is super vulnerable. I actually just shared this with my boss. We had a very vulnerable conversation, but I started measuring my value by like how many trips I was taking to New York a month, right? Which is, it's so easy to get caught up in that.
Oh, I just got goosebumps,
You know
Darah.
what I mean? Though, like, but
I do the metrics that we layer in our life. Yes, I know exactly what you
oh
mean.
my gosh, I started measuring myself, and to be very honest, I still like find myself wanting to like slip that in when I talk to
Yeah.
people about my career, like, oh, I was in New York, blah 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 blah, this and that, and
Interesting.
um, I loved going there, and I think that those trips and some of the other projects and other things that I was working on, right, that's where I was measuring my value from in my career. And so I was like totally awakened to that through the coaching experience, meeting other women who not necessarily were feeling the same way, but I met other women leaders through your program, through Leadership Pittsburgh that I did. I met a lot of other leaders that I always had it in my head that like I had to be CEO, like of a large corporation. Like that is what success looked like to me.
Yep.
That was it. It was the
That
corner.
was it.
That was
The one thing. It's this narrow path, and
it.
at the top is CEO, and that's that.
That was my tunnel vision. That was it. And then after meeting all of these different people that are right here in Pittsburgh, they're not in a big city, or I was thinking to myself like, oh my gosh, this person is so successful, but they're not working for a Fortune 500 company, or they're not the CEO, right? And so I think I always knew in my head, like not that it wasn't realistic, but if I wanted to have this harmony, this balance of my family, that really that wasn't going to work. So how can I make this work, right? So fast forward, um, and this opportunity literally fell into my lap, and I have this newfound passion for early childhood education.
So I'm totally gonna call you out right now because I feel like you're being extra humble. I don't know, it totally fell into your lap. There was
I mean,
effort and inspiration in
oh
that,
gosh,
and
yeah,
desire and work.
yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, so much blood, sweat, and tears, literally,
Yes.
literally. But it when I talk about it fell in like this passion, the passion fell into my lap, right? Like I never knew. I'm a passionate person. I'm very outgoing and extroverted, and I basically I could probably find a passion in this pen, right? Like, um, but it was really interesting because even when this opportunity came to our family to open up this business, I struggled with, again, this is being very vulnerable, but like I struggled with like owning a preschool. Like I was like, oh, this is fluffy. And even when I was in
Because
coaching,
I've got this very serious, very big corporate job that
yeah,
brings
yeah,
value to the world, and like, what's a
yeah,
preschool?
yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, this is fluffy. And I even think during my coaching experience, it wasn't you. Um, I think it was another coach that was in our session, but she legit called my ego out. Like she was like, and this was like years before, preschool owner even came into my life. But
Right.
I remember like it was like my personal value statement or like my personal mission, and I just kept saying, "Gosh, this feels so fluffy. Like I want this to like have fire, and I want this to like, just like jump off the page at people." And she was like, I think you might need to check your ego. And I was like, you talking to
Say that to me right now.
me? And that was huge, right? Like that was really big. And so here I am, and I'm still working my corporate job, which I love. I actually found that when I returned to the office a year and a half ago, it was my comfort zone. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I am so happy to be back in like a clean desk, like a controlled environment. I've got my coffee, I've got my water, I can go walk and get my lunch. I've got my coworkers here. Like,
You don't have 4 children or a whole preschool of
oh my
children
gosh,
around
like I
me.
was like, this feels so good to be back to the office and in my comfort zone. And so that is still serving me very well, which is awesome. But there's this other piece of owning this business and providing a warm, safe, and loving environment for children to learn, including my own.
Mhm.
My own children go there. That when I found out about this half day preschool model, I was a working mom, full time working mom. My children were in daycare. It was the daycare experience, right? It was great because it was a need, but I didn't love that my children were at a center from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just too long. I don't do well from 8 o'clock in the morning till five. Like those are big full days. And so yeah. So anyways, I found out about this half day preschool model, and it integrates Montessori and these other Italian learning theories. And the founders are from Pittsburgh, and there were all these weird godwinks all in this whole story, and it found me. It found me. And gosh, it has been quite a journey. But I'm not sure I would have ever been able to make that leap if I didn't, one, check my ego at the door in my coaching experience, and two, figure out that I had kept getting like thinking that my value only came from, my corporate title.
Right, right, absolutely. And tell us the name of the preschool and the model, and you're over 100 kids now, right? Headed into the school year?
Yeah, yeah. So last year was our first school year. The name of the school is Ivy Brook Academy. We are right.
Which will pop in the comments, by the way, so you can all find it.
Yep, yep. And it's this half-day model. So classes in the morning are from 8:30 to 12. Classes in the afternoon are from 1 to 4:30. It's this amazing the curriculum. The founder has basically who the founders are from Pittsburgh. The wife graduated from the same high school I graduated from. Like, it's wild. But she's basically extracted the gold from the Montessori learning philosophy, from the Reggio Emilia learning philosophy, from multiple intelligences. And I just so wish that something like this would have existed when my older ones needed like some, either needed care or early childhood. And yeah, we're enrolling now for next school year. I have 137 children enrolled, and all the way from 18 months, we have classes for the little tiny ones, just 1 day a week, all the way up to 5 and 6 years old, in our transitional kindergarten program. That's 5 days a week, and everything in between. So it's awesome.
So, like if for someone who's listening right now to be like, okay, there's this corporate woman, mom of 4 kids, came into, a group coaching experience to find herself, and she leaves and she starts a preschool and a business. Like, tell us about that transformation. Like, what shifted and how for you? Was it about the value that you want to provide? Was it about recognizing what was important to you? Tie it together for us.
Um, Good question. And I did write this down. I wanted to mention this. So I think so. I've always had a goal in my life, and I wanted to work less and make more. And when I was able to detach myself from the value of my title and I mean, and my paycheck, essentially, but in that group coaching experience, I realized as a woman, I always felt a little embarrassed saying that money drove me. And if you were to ask any male that question, like what drives you, like my husband is in sales, like he's like money.
Honey.
I want to crush it. Like I want to just
Yeah.
make a lot of money. And I remember seeing it on like the one of the exercises that we did is like what drives you, and like money being one of those things. And even talking about it right now like feels very shallow, but there are people that have competitive personalities and numbers drive you, and
Yes.
that is me.
And no judgment, right? Who's
No,
to say that
no.
that's less altruistic or less valuable in the world?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think for me, where I could set myself up to reach that goal, which is to work less and make more, where I can, be with my family and, still run this business, still be fulfilled by a corporate job, right? I think that was for me, that was like, okay, this could be like step point five to get to that. It could be, right? And so I think that that's where a lot of like the awakening, and like, oh, it's okay to have these types of goals, and it's okay to want to make money, and it's okay to to say that out loud. It's
Yes.
okay.
And it's aligned with who you are.
Yeah,
Like that to me, Darah, to me, that's why it's okay to say it, because it's aligned with authentically who you are.
yeah,
And when we put on this front or this farce or what we think going back to the language we talked about before, what we should be, versus here's who I am and here's what's important to me. And one of the reasons why I had invited you to come on this live was what I love about your transformation. And I, will hear this in group coaching experiences all the time. And I say, what would you do if you have no fear? So many people will say, well, I would start my own business.
mhm,
And they think that it is a binary. They think that, well, that means I need to give up my corporate job and I need to give up my family and I'm just going to do this. And for some people, it is, but
mhm,
not for everyone. And you
yeah,
show that it is possible to live a multifaceted life that points you very authentically towards your goals, which
yeah,
are around numbers.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's so true. And I actually, I remember, I love that you had said, if you had no fear, what would you do? And the one thing that I remember walking away from Edge was like, do it scared.
Yeah.
Like, do it. so scared. And that is like the one thing that I think I want everybody to walk away with this from is whatever it is that you're thinking that you might want to do. I mean, I remember sitting in group coaching and thinking like, could this actually happen? Like, could this happen?
Could I be this big and bold?
Yeah, like, yeah, it could happen. And oh my gosh, I have learned so much about not just early child education, but I don't know, small business loans and like accounting and finance and taxes and things that I'm not sure I wanted to learn about, but I had to. And I always knew that I wanted to open my own business. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine it would be a preschool. But gosh, it has been so rewarding. And we have built a team of women who I love being around. My computer keeps going on standby, so I hope you can still see
Yep,
me.
we can see and hear you just fine, love. Don't worry.
Yeah, and we have just built this team of women who love coming to work, and that's what's important to me, right? Is creating this culture of educators and people who share this passion of early childhood education. We all share it, and we all have the same goal, which is just creating this safe, warm, and loving environment for children. And it's just so amazing to be a part of that. So amazing to be a part of that.
Oh, my friend. So as we close out, because I can't even believe how fast this went,
I know.
2 thoughts for you. Was there anything you really wanted to share that maybe we didn't get to? And or do you have one piece of advice that you would offer to those that are listening right now who are maybe on the precipice of being big and bold in their life? It may have something to do with work or not. It may have something to do with starting a business or not, but just thinking about that concept of coming to the edge and leaping. What
Yeah.
would you leave them with?
Gosh, I think when so one thing that I would just say in leaving this, I think it all kind of comes together is what was so transformational for me about Edge was like turning inward and really just paying attention to myself and my own feelings and experiences and just being true to myself. I always like heard people say that, but I never knew what that meant. And in Edge,
Right.
like we actually got to spend time doing that. So I think if you're thinking about, taking that leap or doing something really 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 scary, just remember that it's not a life sentence. I always say that to myself, like it's no ginormous decision that you make is a life sentence. Like, your life will forever be changed, most likely in a good way if you do decide to leap. um, but at least you could say like, I did it. I did it. And I think that's where I am, is like I feel so good about saying like, oh my gosh, I did this, and I'm not even close to being done with it yet. I cannot believe how I've changed as a person, as a mom. Heck, I might even be a teacher. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I
Right.
am. I would never.
Right.
I'm saying I could like maybe call myself a teacher. I don't know, but yeah, it's just so important to just listen to those voices and listen to those dreams. And yeah, I think. And one thing I will share, Christy, that you share with me that it just replays in my head constantly is if you sit down and you make a bar graph of 4 areas of your life. I love this. It's work. How much are you fulfilled in work? Make a bar for that. There doesn't have to be numbers. It could just literally just be bars. How
Love
fulfilled are you in your work life? How fulfilled are you in your love life? How fulfilled are you in play? And how are you fulfilling yourself with your own health? That is so ginormous when you are looking at the full picture of yourself, because those 4 areas, I mean, albeit there's probably 20 more, but right, like they could all boil down to something. Where are you lacking? Your bar graph will show you, I promise.
I love it. I love it. We'll pop that in the comments too, so you guys can have that worksheet, because that is a good one, and I forgot about it.
Is a good
And it in what the other thing that I will say as we close out is this concept of introspection. It's what I love about the work that we do in Edge, but you don't need to hire Edge to do it. We can all give ourselves permission to stop and do some what I call personal strategic planning in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
To truly, as Darah said, to take stock of who I am right now, not for the person I was 5 years ago or the person I aspire to be in 10 years, but truly, who am I? What drives me without judgment?
Yeah.
And build a life around that.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true.
It's so true. Anything you want to say as we close out, my friend?
Do it scared.
I love it. I think I should rename this Transformation Tuesdays to that, because that is a common theme. Like, we hold ourselves back. Fear does.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. There's definitely scary moments, but I mean, you work through them. You do. There's a fix for everything.
There is. And what I will say, and I'm looking at all of you right now, there's going to be scary moments whether you leap or not.
Mm-hmm.
So if you tell yourself, well, if I just stay here in this corner, in this room, there's not going to be any scary moments because I'm not out there being big and bold in my life, I promise the scary moments will find you, because that is what life is all about.
Yeah.
Leap and the net will appear. That's a promise. That's a promise. All right, my friends, I am wrapping us up, because today, more than ever, we need leaders in our lives. We need friends in our lives who challenge the status quo. Thank you, Darah, for joining us. Folks, if something resonated with you today, drop a note in the comments. Let us know. Share Darah's story out there, and we will see you online.
Thank you.
Thank you. So long, everybody. See you real soon. Thank you for joining us.